Okay, so in this video, we're going to be looking at the authors and affiliations question. So this is a very important question for abstract submission. So if we want to edit the authors and affiliations question, we can go to the submission form on the left-hand side. And then we should find the authors and affiliations question already in our submission form because it comes by default with each form. If you don't see it here, you can add the question using this button here. So if we go into the authors and affiliations question, we can see that we can change the question name, and we can also edit any of the author fields. So these are the fields that the author will have, or these are the fields that can be filled out for each author when the submission is made. So we can see we've got the very standard things such as title, first name, middle initial, last name, and presenting. We also have degree, email, profile picture, and ORCID ID. So with any of these, we can make them required. Well, let's choose a better example. So we can make these required, optional, or hidden. The title question is slightly different because what we can do here is we can display this as a drop-down rather than just a free text input. So if I display as drop-down, I have to then choose what are the different options that people can have. And then you would write them in here. And a great thing to do whilst we're editing the authors and affiliation question is to preview the question. So this will show us exactly what the submitter will see when they're creating or when they're making their submission. So here on the left-hand side, we can, if we change something, we can see that this affects the preview on the right-hand side. Okay, so some of the other things as well is that for presenting, so this is the presenting checkbox that we can see here. We can have it so that there's only a single presenter for each submission, or you can have one or more presenters, or the option can be hidden. Another special field is the email field. So here we can again say this is required, or just required for the presenter, or only the presenter can put this in, or it's optional or hidden. Then with the profile picture option that we can see here, we can decide whether this is shown in the program and whether it's shown in the abstract book. And the same for the ORCID ID. So these can be shown in the abstract book and in the program. And then going down, we can see we have the affiliation fields. So we can again change the text of these, but they have to really represent what it says at the top. So institution. And again, we can make these optional or hidden if we wish. Going down, we can see we can change the author label. So maybe if you don't use the terminology of author, you can change that here. And we can add things like the maximum number of authors per submission and the maximum number of affiliations per author. We can also include an et al. Toggle. So with this, somebody would just see this text, and then they would have an option to check a checkbox. So if we see it in this example, so once they get to their maximum number of affiliations, they can say, maximum number of authors, they can say et al. So further down, we can see that we also can have custom author fields. So the custom author fields, let's just close this preview. So for the custom author fields, you can add any of these types of these fields. So it could be text, so single line text, long text, so multiple line text, checkboxes, drop down, or even text block. And so you can add these fields as you wish and give the different options you would like. And again, you can choose whether this is shown in the program or shown in the abstract book. It's important to know as well that you also have the option to allow the authors themselves to fill out these custom author fields. So for this to work, when the main person who's making the submission is doing this, the email field has to be, or should at least be, required for each of the authors. Then what we can do is we can say, for any of the custom author fields, this must be answered by the author. So what this means is that when the submission is made, whatever email address is put in for the author email address, we then send them an email and then ask them to fill out a form containing the custom author fields which have answered by author checked. So this is really useful for getting extra information from each author, maybe information that the submitter wouldn't know, or if those authors have to make a declaration saying that they perhaps agree for their work to be shown on the program, or things like this. And then going down, you can also see that we can add different custom fields as well. So again, any of these types of questions can be added. Because we have a multi-stage, we can change the name of the question for a particular stage if you wish to. And we can change the description for the author's question. And we can decide whether it's the question is, or the answer at least is required, and whether it is shown to the reviewers. The other options you can't change because the authors and affiliations question is a special question and it must be included in the abstract books and in the poster gallery and in the program. Okay, so this sums up the authors and affiliations question. So it's pretty involved, but I would recommend the best thing to do is preview the question as you're building it, and you can really get a good sense for what the submitter will experience. Okay, thank you for watching.